Welcome, everybody. As you saw in the title, we're going to do an SCP reaction to 001. I have heard of him before. We have done a little bit of a lore dives on it before on our last SCP Explained iceberg, though I saw this guy had a whole ass 40-minute video on it, and so I'm already doing reactions to it, so might as well get to it. Today, though, we have a special guest. I have my fellow VTuber and friend joining me today. Hi to Tsuki, and he's right here. You know, he's been here. He's just been the silent guy. Say hi.
Hello, I am Molly's brother. I'm the one that usually is the one that's not unhinged and not the femboy.
Okay, first off, you don't need to tell them that. All right, it was not necessary for my cause at all. And thank you for introducing yourself, but mostly me more than you there. I don't know why you do that to me. You slander me in my name. All right, okay. Nah, you lost the bit. We're cutting the bit, bro. Nah. Anyways, you know why you pressed on the video. We're here to react to this. Let's not take too much time and get right into it. Just wanted to give him an introduction. And, you know, welcome in. So get your snacks, get your drinks, get comfortable, and let's get right into it.
Hey everyone, and today we are covering every single SCP.
Wait a second. Oh yeah. I was gonna say, how much do you know of SCPs?
I do understand I do understand some of the experiments, but when it came to the story and lore wise, the only thing I understood is the government made a bunch of stuff, hit a bunch of monsters, and they experimented on them constantly. And at some point, they break out and wreak havoc on the world.
So, if you remember right, you told me that's just you only played the games, right?
Yeah, I've only played one of the games.
Okay, so it's more like the other way around. These things exist out there, and then this called SCP, secure, contain, protect. They secure that thing, they contain it, and then they protect the world from it.
Oh, okay. So like Men in Black.
Basically, except, you know, sometimes they do bad things, sometimes they do good things. They're not bad guys, but they're not good people. They're like, they're doing everything they can to keep humanity alive, but that often leads to a lot of human sacrifices and such, and doing stuff against ethics and stuff like that. But they keep us alive. So I'm like, I see where there's a balance, you know. Because another day, yes, because there's entities here that, as far as I'm aware, because I've been doing a lot of lore dives, a lot of coverage, a lot of that stuff, right? There's entities here that could destroy the world very easily, and the only thing stopping them is like us doing a specific ritual that's stopping them that involves human sacrifice. And it's like, okay, that's horrible, right? But then if you don't do this, we die. So it's kind of like, you know. You know,
that's kind of where it goes. So like, okay, what happens after you die then? Because you have these monstrosities, so obviously there's something.
No, I mean, in this universe, because remember, there's just SCPs, right? This is the thing this is the thing that's beautiful about the series, right? There's SCPs, like the catalog, the website, right? It gives you a basic summary, like a statue that can move while you blinks. Every other story that you heard from them, like, you know, the peanut, you know, the thing that can move and all that.
Yeah.
All of that,
know Peanut,
it tells you the base.
Goof.
It just tells you it can move while it blinks. Like, it's very basic information, right? Every story involving it, everything you've seen about it, is all technically not real, because everybody can get that character and put him in a story. So any story you've seen about them, how they acted, is technically not canon, because it's a community thing. We all make our own canons with these characters. There's no official canon. There's only like a basic knowledge that we know about this world.
So wait, like freaking multi-universe then?
In a way, they do stuff with other realities. There's a lot of different stories. There's hundreds and thousands of different stories, but they're all technically canon in a way, but also technically not, because how much it changes, it fluctuates, and you could basically pick what you want.
Okay, that starts to make a lot more. So it's like everyone's story is different because of the sole fact that everyone's like in a different universe or in their own
You could apply
story.
it that way, yes, but it's basically there is no concrete lore. There is only lore about the characters, and as of what they are, it could be true or not. It's up to you and the writers and the community to make stories about them. and make
So
them
these are monsters that they just find out in the open
pretty much.
that
There's some of them.
humans don't encounter, but they're
No,
like a
they
secret
do.
service
They
thing.
yeah. When they encounter them, this is when these guys show up, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, we have task force and everything." They send them in there, and they're like, "Okay, it will look like we'll make it look like it was an explosion of some kind. It was just an accident." But what really happened is SCP something caused amount of deaths here, but we have to cover it up. The governments do. Some governments do know that we exist, like the United Nations know that that the Foundation does exist. They just and there's other factions too that are against them and with them. But there's a lot of stories with the more complicated things about it. But it's and not every SCP is an entity. Let's say there's a room, right, that you enter, and then you just like stuck re-entering the room over and over and over again. That room itself is an SCP.
Okay then.
It could be anything from a dice that has 6 sides but can roll to 7.
Huh. Oh wait, yeah, okay, I remember that one.
Yeah, it could be something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated or anything of this.
Yeah, no, it could be a simple object or a mirror.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, it could be anything.
Okay. So wait, the government knows exactly about. Okay, so when you talk about the sacrifice stuff, the thing that comes to my mind is that one question. You're on a train track, right? And there's 2 options. You either kill the one person to save the 5 people, or you kill the 5 people to save the one person.
Yeah, they will choose the one person every time. That's what the Foundation works.
Okay.
Except in their numbers is like kill 20 people and save billions in the future for as our humanity as we know it.
Apparently, if you choose the 5 person, like if you tell the train to run over the 5 people, it's actually a sign of being a psychopath.
What if you drift the train and hit both tracks?
You're just a murderer. Let's be honest here.
But you hit a
find a reason.
Then you hit a sick drift. Anyways, all right.
Humanity came to
Fair
exist in itself, and so on and so forth. We have got a lot of these to cover, 37 to be exact. So we'll go ahead and get into it.
37 proposals.
Thank you all so much for everything.
It's 37 SCPs and a 40-minute video.
Is at 100,000 views now, which I can't even process. It's so wild. I'm at 7,000 subscribers. The Patreon's going up. It means so much to me. It's really humbling, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you all for watching.
Man's at 3.8.
So,
That's crazy. Man blew up.
Every single SCP-01 proposal, and as always,
I'm doing good.
thank you for watching. The first
That's
proposal is Jonathan Ball's, and that is for the Sheaf of Papers. The Sheaf of Papers is a stack of papers in one of the SCP facilities that is continuously writing new information across the top. It's been observed by the Foundation staff that every time that this Sheaf of Papers adds a new entry to the top, that an SCP matching that description appears somewhere in the world. Now, the Foundation doesn't know if this is some form of warning and may be beneficial, or if this piece of paper is what's causing new SCPs to be formed. However, the theory is that what they're reading with this is the website that us, the real world writers, are compiling, and every time that we make a new SCP, it gets added to the Sheaf of Papers.
Oh, that's cool.
Also, I want to mention really quick why each of these proposals.
We see the sheets getting added onto it. So what happens if you try to burn it?
Well, I'm not sure. See, we don't know that.
Like, if the papers are just stacking up and they're just paper, right? If they're just paper and it just spawns when a new SCP is revealed or brought into the world, why not just burn it? Because if you burn the papers, then you have the possibility of the SCPs now going away.
Well, you said we don't know that. You might burn the paper, and then they might have done that before, after making a copy, and they might have done nothing.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, what happens if you try to burn it?
Well, I don't know. I don't ever seen that SCP. It in itself is an SCP, but that's funny. It's like a self-insert meta thing, where it's like, oh, this paper is actually us writers making an SCP and putting it into the world, and this is how they know. You know, like, oh, there's a new one. There's a new one, and this one's a god. Who would have thought of this?
The sheets of paper itself is an SCP. So what happens if you try to kill the SCP? Does it live or does it die?
Well, SCPs don't have to be alive. They're just a thing.
True.
Or a thing that's not following the rules of, of the universe.
You have to freaking burn it with galaxy paper or galaxy fire.
I don't think that's how that works, my guy. All right, let's keep going. We got a lot to go through.
have a name associated with them. While several of these are the name of the original author, the in-universe explanation is that everyone in the facility who was given their proposal to write a fake SCP in order to cover up the real one did so by attaching either their name or an alias to it. And then whichever one is the real SCP simply had someone else's name put on top of it. And even though canonically there's only supposed to be one real one, i.e. whatever one is your favorite, you can just simply assume that that's the real one.
Yeah.
There are theories ranging from all of them are real to none of them are real. So really whatever you prefer. Next we have Dr. Gears' proposal known as the prototype. Prototype is a 6 foot tall grayish black creature
Thick man.
that had spikes for limbs and an eye inside of its
What
mouth.
do you mean? That's
and seemingly no other features.
That's not
However,
thick.
this creature did give
I
off
said
an amount
stick.
of radioactive energy, and the theory states that, given its name, the prototype, that this creature may have been an original embodiment of what is now human. During containment for this creature, it killed someone known as Dr. Herman Keter, and therefore, according to this theory,
Oh
the reason
my
that
God.
hard to contain entities are known as Keter in the SCP lore is in honor of this doctor who was killed. Next, we have Dr. Kleff's
That's
proposal
cool.
of the Gate
So
Guardian.
they
The Gate
named it
Guardian-
after the doctor that was killed.
No. Is when there's like, you know how there's danger levels, right?
Yeah,
It's safe.
threat
which is
levels. I
me-
think it's called.
Yeah, there's safe, which means it doesn't mean it can't kill you. It means if we put it in a box, it won't leave
Or
the
safe.
box. It will
Yeah,
stay in there.
Okay.
There's Euclid. That means if it can maybe break out of the box, if you leave the box open, it will leave. It won't stay in the box if it has a choice. And if it can leave, it'll leave. And it will try
Okay.
to leave. That's Euclid. Kind of like, okay, and it's like aggressive, and it, you know. Then there's Keter, which means there's no point of a box. The box will break. The box is gonna break. But we'll try to put it in a box.
Like, we know it's gonna break. We know for a fact it's gonna happen. But we're gonna try anyway.
Because we gotta know a choice, as far as I'm aware. Comments, you're free to correct me as always, as well. Because I'm learning this as we're going as well. I just have a little more information in this universe than he does for certain things.
I just played the games.
So
And
I'm trying my best. All right.
bits of
Anyways,
lore.
too much pausing. Let's go ahead. Let's go.
is roughly 1,100 feet tall and stands at the guard of this portal, or gate as it's seen, and seen behind him is a beautiful luscious garden, and this is all located between the Euphrates and the Tigris River. So yes, the theory is that this creature is the angel that stands at guard at the Garden of Eden. Also, according to the history of the Foundation
Urban.
regarding this, years and years back, King Solomon was traveling in order to find the Garden of Eden and came across the angel who told him one word, prepare, and that was what inspired him to start the original SCP Foundation. Obviously, because the Foundation doesn't know any better, they have attempted to kill this thing in several different ways. According to the Foundation's understanding, anything that crosses a 1 kilometer threshold within the proximity of the Gate Guardian is immediately struck down by a sword he carries, which looks like the sun. One time, they tried to take a D class and send it towards it, to which the D class was killed.
Oh, by the way, D classes, right? Because like they need, you know, there's like we don't understand anything. We have to send somebody in there, right?
Yeah, it's a squadron.
No. D class are death row inmates in
Oh.
jumpsuits that we just throw at things when we don't understand them. To understand them, they're like people that have done horrible crimes, and then we're like, okay, well, we need some way to understand this. What does it do if we get close to it? Throw one in there.
So what happens if you run out of inmates?
You don't, because they get it from all the jails in the world,
At some point, you're gonna run out.
and at some point they're gonna just grab less petty crime inmates. That's probably what they're gonna do.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is definitely interesting. What kind of it makes me smile a little bit is like he says, it's literally the sword is the sun.
Well,
So, like-
let's watch. Actually, as I was about to say, I know some stuff about it, but I'm like, that's just, let's just hear the full explanation. Then you can pause.
Yeah.
Sun. One time, they tried to take a D class and send 1 kilometer threshold within the proximity of the Gate Guardian, he's immediately struck down by a sword he carries which looks like the sun. One time they tried to take a D class and send it towards it, to which the D class was killed, and then the entire team behind him was killed. They then tried to do the same thing with a group of 100 drones, and it destroyed all the drones at once. They tried to launch a missile at it from a submarine. It destroyed the missile and then the submarine controlling the missile. They even tried to send Cain and Abel to go take care of it, which Cain and Abel are known SCPs, SCP-73 and SCP-76 within the
We
Cain.
just covered that last video. Don't forget, you want to check that one out. That was one of the most actual interesting SCPs, and I love the story in the end. It still touches my heart. Anyways, moving on.
Abel simply collapsed and said he's not going anywhere near it, and he remembers it. And then Cain became confused, said he's not messing with it, and then the mark of Cain on his forehead began to glow. Also, one time the Foundation got a message from the facility containing the Gate Guardian that this was it, it's the end times, the rapture is coming, and it's all over. They then contacted the facility to see what it was. They had no idea what they were talking about, and on reviewing the message, that message was sent from the future. So that's promising. Next is Quantum's proposal for the lock.
Okay, anyways, that's the Gate Guardian, basically. It's just the angel guarding the Garden of Eden. It's it. And it has a big sword, big fire sword, as hot as the sun.
Yep.
And because the
it's like, hey, the inmates didn't kill it, so let's send drones, which are probably weaker than inmates.
Yeah.
Unless it's like fighter drones, then I can see it like
Well,
holding a chance.
The
but,
Foundation is
they
very.
did not learn their lesson, did they?
The thing about the Foundation, right, is that once you have abilities and powers and everything, they don't treat you as human. As soon as you're not normal, you're not human to them.
Interesting. So Jeez, this actually makes it more gruesome because it goes to show the cruelty of humanity.
Yeah, pretty much. But that also, they're like, okay, you're not human. That doesn't mean we're gonna kill you, but you can't
It
be
just
going.
means we're gonna experiment on you.
Not always. If you comply, they will run blood tests, but they depends on your kind of powers and how much they can mess with you, right? But they'll be like, okay, we can move you to a facility. You have your own place in that area. We'll allow you to do some like, activities with the rest of our like, not the other SCPs, but like, because that's not a thing. But like our scientists and everything that know you exist and everything.
Yeah.
You're allowed to live there freely, move around freely. Obviously, you don't have access to everything because some stuff are just dangerous in those areas. But like, we'll allow you that at best. That's best case scenario. They give you a place, and you just have to like never see society again.
What? Interesting, but I do find it funny that it's like, oh, something doesn't work. Throw another thing at it.
No, that's
that doesn't work. Throw another thing at it.
that's kind of how they operate at it, though. If they don't understand it and it's a big threat because it's not theirs and they don't know its agenda really, they're just gonna say, "Can we contain this? If we can't contain this, we're locking down the entire area around it. Nobody can be here." But if they can, they're gonna try to put it in the box.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, does the SCP have the right to even say no at that point?
Like I said, once you're an SCP, they don't see you as human. You're not human anymore. You're you're a threat in some way or another. We either need to contain the area around you, get rid of you, or we just can't contain you. So we're just gonna try to block
Get
the
rid
area.
of you.
If they can't get rid of it either, they just like, okay, we're gonna make sure nothing's around you that you could hurt that's ours, which is what they did here. Remember, like they made like I'm assuming they made something around the area so that nobody wanders here or anything. Because remember, most of humanity is unaware any of this exists.
Yeah. But again, it's so funny because it's just like, we can't do anything to stop you, but we're gonna try and stop you and build things around you to prevent anything from happening.
Pretty much. You gotta throw a couple things at it before you figure out, don't fuck with this.
SCP-01 is
you're gonna get those people that are gonna just be like, all right, I want to fight an angel. All right, I want to go see if I can go kill an angel or screw an angel.
Hey. In their defense, they do fight stuff like this all the time. So,
my guy, they don't think of the consequences. Like we have people in Area 51 literally saying screw the aliens, and they wanted to screw the aliens. Did they not think that there was a possibility of space aids?
It's you know, you have a valid point, but still, or maybe that's a thing here. Probably. Let's keep moving on.
White gemstone that is wrapped with a sort of golden lock fixture around it. It was discovered in Mesopotamia, and on the top of the rock is what appears to be a keyhole, although the key has not been discovered, and the rock is seemingly indestructible. The only hint that we get as to what this might be is the rock gives off very specific radio waves in fluctuations of radiation from time to time, which upon analysis match almost perfectly to the proposed theory of how our universe gives off radiation. So yes, this rock is literally our universe held in a sort of bubble. So probably a good thing they don't open it up. Dr. Bright's proposal of the factory, unlike most
small.
SCP,
It's basically, as far as I understood, right? It's a box. But imagine the universe is in the box for some reason. There you go.
And it's our universe.
Yeah, it's just our universe in a box.
Well, someone better not step on that box then, otherwise the universe crushes itself.
Well, they said it's unbreakable and it's not. There's a lock on it and they
Oh.
can't break it. So I was like, I don't know. We should open it. I'm gonna be honest.
the
Or
articles.
what happens if you throw it in a dark void, like a freaking what do you call it? Black hole.
I don't know.
Is it gonna spit the freaking box out? Be like,
I mean,
I'm sorry, I don't want this.
I'm just saying it's indestructible. Apparently.
The factory is not framed as a
the
standard
factory.
containment protocol for a creature. Instead, it is a story told by the first member of the O5 Council, known as the Founder. According to him, in 1835, a man by the name of James Anderson, who was some sort of occult or demon worshiper, built a factory that could seemingly produce anything. This included magical hammers, super weapons, clothing that could absorb energy, and things like that that you're pretty familiar with if you already know the SCP universe. However, to obtain these ends, and as
It's
you imagine
always
what
those
happens when a
dudes.
saint worshiper owns a factory, people were essentially treated like cattle, regularly killed during duty, and chained to the assembly line in order to produce these things. At the time the Founder got here, which keep in mind this is far before the SCP Foundation formed, they went to liberate all of these people, and upon entering the sublevels of the factory, they came across these half-human amalgamations of human and animal and machinery, and it killed about half of his team. After that, they discovered more and more rooms and cellars and locked doors down there that housed both anomalies that were alive, like the aforementioned creatures, and inanimate objects that seemed to be beneficial for some use. Anderson was killed, and then that site was referred to as Site Alpha and was the beginning of what the Foundation would later become. However, a few years after they started, these new creatures came to attack the known as fairies. And no, not like little Tinkerbell fairies, like think more evil orc monster with axe fairy. This led to one night when the fairies
orc.
raided the facility.
Okay.
The Founder ran all the way downstairs through every hallway he could and came across an ornate golden door with supposedly scripture of some kind written on it. After he goes through the door because he has no other option and he's being chased, he finds the body of Anderson, now cut in half and speaking from a very decomposed mouth. The body of Anderson makes a deal with him and says he will give him, as well as all the friends he has lost, immortality if they spend their existence bringing him new anomalies and creatures. And having no other option, the Founder says yes. This is how the Founder and his 12 teammates became the original O5 Council, which still exists to this day according to this theory. And as per their agreement, they have spent their entire existence bringing in new creatures to the Foundation in order to appease whatever Dark Lords that they gave themselves to.
Ooh.
Dr. Mann's proposal, the Spiral.
I like that one. That one's pretty good. That one's way more.
It's always the people who are trying to do the demonic stuff.
Well, listen,
It's always the people who want the power.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that one felt better. That one felt like an actual story compared to
Yeah,
stacks of
that was
papers.
definitely a better story.
it's just like a stacks of papers that gives names and writing is interesting, but it doesn't feel like it would fit the first SCP spot. This feels like more of a story. Like, okay, this could be the origin of everything. This is the first SCP thing in record. Why?
Mhm.
Because it's the factory. It's the first place found. It's where everything was made, where the SCP Foundation was founded. That one feels a lot more plausible if I were to put it in words. A lot more plausible.
So I just find it funny, right? That's just like the moment they want to mess with like the monster side of things or like a more powerful side of things, morality goes out the window. Just completely toss that out the window, gone.
Yeah,
Where
just power with men.
and then you have like his team, the founders team, right? The first team died, and then the second team is the team that ends up being the pretty much the foundation of the people responsible for hunting these things down.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of because they kind of got resurrected, and then they got told, oh well, the only reason you're alive is because I made a contract with this dude, with one.
Don't worry, I just made a contact with a demon. Nothing big.
Well,
Don't
remember,
worry.
he didn't specify demon. He said either a sort of cultist or demonic follower. But it was following something. We just don't know if it's demonic. It's just a higher being, probably, of some kind.
True.
Because remember, here is just not heaven and hell. There's a whole scope of things. It goes everywhere, crazy. It could be from anything.
It just surprises me, like how far humanity's going down.
Yeah, but remember, this was in the 1800s. This is 1800s.
Oh yeah, sure. This is when freaking electrocution was a form of torture.
Yep. All right. I gotta say, I like that one the best for as 001 so far of what we've seen. I think if there's no other ones as good as that one, I think I'm gonna use that one as my canon for myself.
Path. Now, the spiral path is interesting, as with unlike these.
Because you said you could just kind of choose which one you like more. So that's the one I like the most.
Ones it's just
feels like an origin story.
SCP. It is a gravel trail.
001, I can see. Like you said, it's not really good as a story side of thing, but it does seem interesting as it would be connected to like the origin of everything. Like for all we know, the paper itself could be into the SCP, or for all we know, the SCP itself, right, could be just extraterrestrial and just be sitting there writing stuff down.
Yeah, but I feel like the factory could explain the paper. How do we know the paper wasn't made in the factory? Because they said it could make stuff like that.
Yeah.
It could explain everything else, pretty much. And why it exists.
So would the foundry also be responsible for making the SCPs?
We're not sure. They could have probably made some of them, but not all of them. Because remember, they got attacked by another race called fairies, so there's stuff out there that exists that's not related to this. We just know that we can make really strong weapons to fight the things out there here. And also, he made a deal to bring SCPs to this thing. So, clearly there's stuff out there that he doesn't have that he wants, the being that he made a deal with.
Yeah.
Of the woods in Wisconsin, that whenever it is walked one direction, it forever goes up one route until you get back to where you began and having gained no altitude. And if you walk the other direction, the exact same happens, only going downhill. According to this proposal, there's nothing that special about it aside from other standard SCPs. However, this was the SCP discovered by a man named Aaron Siegel that inspired him to look more into what anomalies the world holds, and this man eventually started the Foundation, got an administrator by the name of Agnes, and it gets into more of the nuts and bolts of how the actual Foundation works. Also, quick side note, a lot of these have these very long stories behind them. However, there's way too many for me to get into the story of everyone, so I am just describing the proposal and things itself rather than all of the narrative behind it, so that this video isn't like 8 hours. Next is Dr. McKenzie's proposal of the legacy. This is technically 3 items.
This gives me Gravity Falls type.
Never watched it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay.
Don't spoil. I'm planning to react to it. Eventually.
I'm not gonna spoil anything.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say the bio
spoilers for you guys, viewers. I'm planning to react to TV shows. Okay, all right, that's on the list.
Okay, so this is the bio of it. All right, I'm not spoiling anything. So there's a thing called the Mystery Shack. All right, and it's like the anomalies or anomalies.
Anomalies?
The anomalies. Seminimini. So it is anomalies of this place called Gravity Falls. These things can be mystical or non-mystical, and so the character Dipper is very fascinated with these anomalies, and so as you go through the story, things become a lot more weirder, and the weirder they get, the more things make sense, and then the more things make sense, it gets more weirder. And it definitely gives the SCP vibe of what the Foundation's trying to do.
Yeah, I can see the correlation.
And as it says, right, we were talking earlier, some could be hostile, some can be not hostile.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah. Okay, so that's a T. Ah, interesting. Okay. Don't tell me anything else though, because I rather I don't want to know anything else. I gotta know something. You know how hard it is not to try to avoid any spoiler for any series now, because I want to give my viewers an actual good reaction, and me not knowing anything, I have to avoid everything I run into the internet.
Bro, this is like the moment something is posted, the moment you even pull out your phone, boom, right there, big letters.
I have to like scroll away and act like I didn't see it a lot of the time.
Oh, I find it funny.
Listen, man, when I have to do reaction channels, it's not really funny. It's like, no, I'm not supposed to know this. I'm not supposed to know this.
I'm blind.
Anyways, we need to continue this reaction. I was gonna say, I think the spiral path is pretty lame. It's just the path that goes in circles. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, does the first one have to be something huge? Does it have to be like
what the first SCP?
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean,
I would say no.
I
would say no.
A lot of people. I mean, I feel like it would feel right if the first one they have in first place is so big that like, oh, they don't want anybody to know it. Because remember, they're hiding it, right? But but it'd be funny if it's just like, oh yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was just a piece of dice or something. It would be so redundant.
I would be freaking hilarious if like the first SCP would just literally just be a mouse that's just mutated.
Okay. All right. Anyway, let's see what this is.
Gray box that displays the digital number 23% and then a redacted number beneath it. The other is a key made of the same material as the gray box, which supposedly fits into the gray box. And then finally a journal that has not seen any signs of decomposition despite how old it supposedly is. Upon reading the journal, you find out that it is the journal of the fabled administrator. According to this, the administrator is from a parallel universe, but not just a standard one-to-one parallel universe. He is from several parallel universes away. From what he says, in his timeline, humanity had progressed to the point that we were harnessing energy and time in order to make weapons and material. This led to a ripple effect that was going to destroy every universe in existence. So they harnessed their last of their energy to send one man into the next universe over so that he could hopefully figure out how to stop the spread of what was coming. This man became known as the administrator, and through every universe he would start these organizations in order to better understand anomalous creatures and the supernatural, in order to try to figure out the secret to how to stop the eventual destruction of every universe. By this theory, the administrator's been alive for an inconceivable amount of time if he has started SCP foundations or things similar in every single universe, and given the 23% on the gray box he brought with him, the universe still has some time, but it ain't getting any shorter. Next is S. Andrew Swan's proposal.
Ooh, I like that one. That one's pretty good.
It definitely is interesting. Like, you send a guy to prevent all this stuff from happening, but there's even a chance of it not being the case because you have that like massive chance of losing of what's going on in reality.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like it's more like, okay, we fucked up. We're about to kill everybody. Our universe is gonna die. Let's send this man, which is the administrator, to the next one, and he's gonna try to study and figure out what happened and how to stop this. Okay, and he kind of has been doing that in every universe, starting an organization, trying to learn these things, and that thing is like a progress box into like how much of the universe is already being destroyed and how much time we have left.
keep in mind, right? We're the ones who destroyed this stuff.
Well, not us. A different reality of us. All right.
Like a different reality of us is like, yeah, sure, why not? Destroy the universe. It'll be fine.
Well, they didn't do it on purpose. They were messing with stuff they didn't understand, which happens a lot.
I mean, that's kind of the same thing as splitting an atom. Yet we do understand if we split an atom, there's a chance of a massive black hole. Yet we make an atom splitter. Like, why?
Progress in the name of science. All right. All right. We have a long way to go. Come on.
Database.
Yes.
This is referring to the database. According to this, the O1 slot is what's used to categorize every leaking of Foundation information that gets out of hand. For example, this could be movies that seem to reference SCPs, websites like the website itself that's used to reference SCPs, and it essentially says that if the website ever reaches such big groups of popularity that people start to question the actual validity of the SCP Foundation, or if me right now makes a video about it, they will disperse memetic kill agents online, which either hearing or just seeing things will cause you to die. So as always, my videos is putting you one day closer to death. So you're welcome. Next we have Scantron's proposal of the Foundation.
Okay, that one's kind of.
Thank you very much for bringing me one day closer to death.
I feel like that was kind of meh. I was just kind of like, okay, all right. You just die for knowing the information.
That kind of sounds like today's, like our universe. Like that sounds like our universe. Not gonna lie. Oh, you know too much? All right. Go ahead and drink this nice tall glass of wine. It's totally not poisonous. And you die because you know too much information.
I mean, I guess I don't feel like I said, it sounds kind of meh. Kind of meh. We'll move on.
This is written as an unusual incidents unit file, which I want to make a correction on the SCP video I did previously. The UIU is not a branch of the SCP Foundation, like I said. However, given the fact that they're not privy to the fact that the Foundation exists and are not allowed to interact at the same capacity, they are much, much, much less significant than the Foundation. So this O1 proposal is the UIU's file of what the Foundation might be. This comes from an incident in which a school had anomalies appear, and then people in suits showed up and took the anomalies away. And while we understand that to be the SCP Foundation, the FBI has no idea what's going on, so therefore this O1 proposal is them trying to understand what the Foundation is. Next we have Jory and Matrix's proposal.
That sounds like hella meta.
That sounds confusing as hell.
It's just this area is just saved as a spot, like where we're gonna put the information that the FBI knows of us. Is the very bare minimum of what I understood there.
I understood, like, it's not part of the Foundation, but it is part of the Foundation. But that Foundation is that part of the Foundation, and then yeah, no, it definitely was a little bit more confusing on the catch on that. That was painful.
We'll move on.
Like my head hurts.
36 is 36 humans who have the superhuman ability of being able to stop any anomalous entity. Whenever one of these 36 are introduced to another SCP, that SCP loses its anomalous ability, or if it is a creature that is of itself anomalous, it goes into a comatose state. That sounds all well and good until you figure out that every time one of these 36 people die, yes, their ability is reincarnated into someone who was just born, but their death causes a sort of breakthrough in the fabric of our reality, and a ton of new, very dangerous SCPs show up around the place they were killed. This implies that the 36 of them exist as a sort of reality anchor, and that whenever they come in contact with something that defies the rules of reality, it creates a sort of paradox. Therefore, the supernatural thing has to be put away. Also, supposedly, if all 36 of them come together, something will happen, although no one knows what. However, given their properties of being reality anchors, either all the SCPs may go away, or all the SCPs may show up. Next is Roget's proposal of Keter.
Okay, that one's kind of...
Comatose.
You good over there?
Sorry, when he said comatose, the first thing that played in my head was Comatose from Linkin Park.
Okay. Anyways, Mr. Singer, it's back to the topic, which is the video.
That definitely sounds interesting, because it's like they just absorb the powers of the SCP.
and then they die. It just comes back and bites us in the ass. I don't know. It
Yeah.
feels like they're just delaying the inevitable. If it means
At that point, you might as well just put all 36 together. Just see what happens.
yeah, honestly, yeah, just put them
The
together.
the world's either gonna go or the world will be fine.
It's not like
Well,
it's already not fine. It's already having to deal with a bunch of gods trying to break in.
But if they're the anchors of reality, the only thing that can, or the only thing that, in my mind, right, that I think would be the downside is the fact that all of reality would just collapse on itself. Or if like think about it like this, right? All 36 come together. And instead of that universe in itself collapses, but the original universe that started it all, or that the original story or the confirmed lore of the story then gets revealed.
I mean, I guess, but that still depends on your lore perspective, right? What is the original? Or this could be the original for all we know. Remember, we kind of have to
Yeah.
choose and pick here. It's not set in stone.
Just get 36, all 36 there. All of it.
Let's see what happens. And you complain about them fucking around and finding out.
According to this, though, one proposal
listen,
there,
if they're doing that, they might as well just go ahead and figure out, because they're just observing the abilities. So that it doesn't necessarily sound like it'd come out as a bad thing, like at all, because of the sole fact that they can take the abilities of the SCP and dormant them in a way, right?
Yeah.
To prevent any more harm. So what happens if you got all 36? I mean, if they're able to steal the abilities for good reasons, it leads in a more leeway of, hey, if we get all 36 there, something good will happen. Where if they were to use the abilities but then immediately explode and then be reborn, then you have something to worry about, maybe the universe coming to a close.
When has that stopped them, though?
is a facility known as
True.
Olympia, located in Greece, which is the site that every single Keter entity
Greece.
that has ever existed has come from. Not only that, but according to this, the reason Keters are the way that they are isn't because of their containment procedures, it's because that is the designation given to one of these creatures from Olympia. According to this, whenever two of these Keter entities interact with each other, the universe gets a little wonky. And supposedly, if all the Keter entities were to come together, it would open up the gateway for our favorite giant red demon, the Scarlet King, to come through. Next is DJ Cactus and Twisted Gear's proposal of the Ouroboros cycle. This one is literally too long to get into. It's like a full novel-length story. Shortest version I can, it's divided into 4 parts. These 4 parts contain a group of 9 children given anomalous properties in order to stop whatever evil monsters coming next. The Church of the Broken God assembling their god, and so on and so forth. It's very confusing, but essentially a giant time loop is occurring and we are seeing the final days of it. Next we have Kate McTyres' proposal of a record. This
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I have that little monster that was on the bottom left of the corner?
This one?
Yeah.
What
I want
about
it
it?
as a pet.
You saw this and you said, "Oh, he looks adorable. I want him as a pet."
Yeah, I want a little rambunctious little lizard Godzilla mutant thing.
Right.
It'd be better than the freaking Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff that's on the right side.
Do not talk about the bears like that. I've done a deep dive on those guys. Those things are demons. That do not compare them to. That's not explaining how bad they are.
Oh, so they're an actual entity.
Listen, right? Imagine this, right? There's the teddy bear, right? He's super kind and friendly. Or let's say somebody in the facility lost an ear for some reason, randomly. Like he's woke up, his ear was gone. An ear was gone. Then you see another bear come out, and it's made out of ears, and it's secreting this noise that blinds you or something like that, and you can't really kill it because it runs away. Let's say somebody else lost a toe, and then you see a toe bear, and you don't know what's happening, but you just know one thing is that one kind bear is responsible for all of it.
Huh?
Yeah, he builds things. He's a builder. He's a little bit of a builder, and he builds other bears that are very good at killing people. But he's very
So
kind.
the bear's like, oh, I want a hug. I want love.
It
Okay, now because of that, I now take your ear, your leg, your arm, your eye, and your head, and now I can make more stuff. That is
Yeah.
demonic.
It took a while before it did that though. Apparently it was so like friendly and everything. They just let it walk around the facility for a while. And it was fine for a while until eventually one day, I don't know what happened, but it just started doing that.
You think something may have triggered his?
I don't know. It's just some of it's really dark. Like was one pregnant lady that just woke up one day after she took a nap in the facility and the baby was gone.
What?
As you can imagine what happened with the baby and who knows what he made with it. Listen, that bear's got some dark lore, is all I'm saying. Don't fuck with the bears, bro. Don't fuck with the bears.
Bro, I'm gonna get that lizard, and me and that lizard are gonna jump that bear.
He's really sneaky though. They would have got him if he could.
Oh, that is interesting.
Anyways,
so forth. It's very
as you
confusing.
were talking about the Keter thing,
Mhm.
what cool, I guess. I don't know, I kind of forgot it. I'm not gonna, the bear took over. Okay, we move on from bear.
But essentially a giant time loop is occurring, and we are seeing the final days of it. Next we have Kate McTyres' proposal of a record. This describes a record that whenever given to someone to put into a list, the record will always appear at the top of the list regardless of its actual placement. So for example, if you were to send it to a Billboard chart in order to rank, they would always put it at number 1. Doesn't really match the description for what an O1 proposal should be if it's these great overarching things that have to be contained or explain the entire universe itself, and that's what Mary Nakayama thought. Mary Nakayama was a researcher who figured that something was weird about this entry, so she did a test. She said in there, everyone has to give Mary $5 during lunch break today. If they can, she saved it, and then sure enough, everyone did. She then did the same thing by saying she gets paid vacation, and sure enough, it happened. Turns out, the reason SCP-001 is something so innocuous is whatever you put as the description in 001 will come to be. So Mary did the natural thing and proclaimed herself to be a god of all of time and the universe at once, to which she then disappeared and no one knows what happened. So maybe she is a god out there, who knows. Therefore, SCP-001 is the actual entry of 001, and whatever is written there becomes true. Next we have Kalina's proposal of passage.
Okay, so it's just paper that makes whatever you want be a reality. Okay, alright.
That is terrifying.
I mean, shit, I'd write the same thing probably.
So she went from, okay, we're gonna test it like this. All of you give me your lunch money.
Like, I will receive
every single day.
I will receive $5 from y'all every day, and it's like, oh my god, it actually works. I'm God now, and then just disappears. Pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much. There you go. All right.
Future. This story opens up with O5 member number 2 going to see SCP-411. 411 tells the O5 member that there is coming a sort of end of days and that it's the final times of planet Earth. What spurred this was SCP-2788, which is a giant ring of protection around the Earth that is invisible to the human eye being destroyed. According to this, there are these entities out in space that we can't identify, but what we do know is they hate humanity, because every time that they send a transmission to Earth, new Keter entities appear. And given the destruction of the Earth's barrier, these things are getting more powerful. So essentially the O1 proposal here is that these creatures out in space are slowly causing the inevitable destruction of Earth. Next we have Wrong's proposal of the consensus.
So just aliens.
So
Just aliens.
yeah. Like, what I find interesting is that apparently a ring was around the Earth protecting it
For a while.
So like this SCP was protecting all of humanity.
Well, we don't know if it's an SCP. There's just a ring out there protecting us. And now it's gone. And now we're screwed. Yay!
According to this,
So obviously
history as we
something
know it
loves
has-
us.
Something cares about us.
Something cares about us.
Oh, you
but-
could be really dark. Maybe they didn't really care about us, but they cared about the planet. Maybe there's something in the planet that they're protecting.
I think you're stretching there.
I don't know.
think-
We
I
don't know. Think. All right, these worlds don't really care about humanity. These things don't really care. They care about other stuff more than us. Usually.
I mean, okay, let's be honest here. Humanity doesn't even care about itself.
Well, it cares enough about itself enough to keep itself alive somehow through extreme luck.
Uh-huh. I would say keep coping on that.
I will. All right, let's go.
Has been written by 13
I will.
people, those 13 people being the O5 committee.
Okay.
According to their true story, something happened called the Fifth Occult War that caused a reset of all of human history. But even given this, they have varying accounts of what actually happened and how things used to be, so the consensus may exist as a distraction from whatever really is going on, or if the consensus is true, it's unlikely the O5 will actually ever say what exactly happened. Next is SD Locke's proposal of When Day Breaks.
Okay, so just
So is
a
this
time
all
loop.
continuations of SCP-001?
No, these are
or-
all propositions. So this is like, I think this is what happened, or I think this is what this is, or I think this is what this is, or I think this is what this is.
Oh, okay. Now I'm getting it. So it's different perceptions of like what happened
Or what it
and why
is.
it happened.
Or
what
that,
it is.
yeah. This entire
Theorizing,
video.
pretty much.
This entire video. Yeah. These are our proposals.
Okay.
Anyways, what's
I'm
this
not
one?
gonna lie, the consciousness not really too. Okay, the consciousness and the one before it, I would say is, in my opinion, right. I don't think it'd be that insane.
I still like the factory right now the most.
Yeah, the factory definitely is a lot of the. Like I like the factory one a lot.
The Locke's
more
proposal
lore.
of When Day
Yeah.
Breaks. When Day Breaks
Day
feels
Breaks.
more like a traditional SCP. The story is told more so in the form of a tale. Essentially, this follows an alternate timeline in which the sun, for whatever reason, became evil. Whatever sunlight touches immediately forms into this disgusting blob creature. It's described that people melt and then become putty and then join with other melted entities, and these giant thing-like Cronenberg monsters begin to form. So no one can touch the sunlight for any reason, and if you think you're safe to move at night, the moon is reflected sunlight, so no cigar. To give you an idea of how brutal this is, the story follows a group of researchers stuck in an SCP facility who they managed to convince a D class to try to lead one of these blob monsters away from their front door. As the blob monster grabs his foot and begins to pull him in, the D class shoots himself so he won't be turned into one of these things, to which the blob monster pours inside of his suit, rips his body out, brings him back to life just to melt him and then join him, so they literally
that's
won't
screwed.
let him die. The rest of the story follows the sole survivor of this group as they try to make it to Site 19, which is supposedly humanity's last safe hold. I don't want to spoil the ending though, as I encourage you to read this one for yourself. Next we have
Sounds
Spike
interesting.
Brennan's proposal of God's
That is so freaking twisted. It's like, you killed yourself to avoid the pain and suffering? Okay, I'm bringing you back.
That reminds me of
Like
somebody
that
else.
is the biggest middle finger you can
That
give
reminds me of
someone.
a Star Wars reaction I did the other day, but that you guys just watch that and you know what I mean. But besides that, that's irrelevant. I find that I don't like that as 001, but that's definitely a story I want to explore. I want to see. You said there's an entire lore story to that. I want to. I'm definitely gonna do a deep dive on that world where the sun just became evil. It sounds interesting because I want to see a lot of different SCPs that exist.
Yeah.
How they react to it. Definitely could do a lore dive for that, for sure. All right, so hit that sub. You better be here when I react to it. Anyways, I'm gonna do that for sure. But I do not like it as 001, and it wouldn't fit as 001, but it's definitely very interesting.
It sounds like a more alternate universe type vibe.
Yeah,
Like a different story, if you will.
yeah, it's a good story, but not for this context.
Yeah.
All right,
Which is
so-
probably why it's told in a tale.
Yeah.
We have
God's blind
Spike
spot.
Brennan's proposal of God's blind spot. According to this, in the middle of Sinai, there is an area completely devoid of Akiva radiation. Akiva radiation, as described by this proposal, is ambient radiation that exists anywhere that God also exists, or death itself or life or whatever have you. What this means is no one inside of this given area in the Middle East can die, or at least by natural means, because of course the Foundation kept testing this by like cutting people's limbs off and they lived. So then they eventually ran someone through an incinerator and they died. According to this story,
No
the
shit.
O5 Council has set up their base there, and the reason all of them are presumed to be immortal is because they're simply staying in an area in which no one is allowed to die, or even age for that matter. The justification for the story comes from Exodus chapter 4, in which it said God sought to kill Moses. According to this whole overarching story, the fact that God could not kill him implies that Moses was in a place to which God could not kill him. Therefore, as noted by historians who came before, such as Napoleon, this location is God's blind spot. Next is WJS's proposal.
So they pretty much tested each other to see if you could die in that one area. And they're like, okay, we're gonna now move a little bit further away.
Bring the wood chipper.
Bring the wood chipper, bring the incinerator. Oh, they're dead. Oh,
So
well, that
there's
sucks.
so there's limits. Nah, so there's limits.
Like,
hey, 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 hey. In their defense, they could live forever there, so they're just testing it, alright?
So what happens to the person who is literally dead?
Why would they care? It's SCP Foundation. They
You know what,
sacrifice.
God's gonna send a meteor down on that area.
Well, you can't kill them. Remember, that's God's blind spot.
But hear me out, right? If it's God's blind spot, but someone dies right next to it because they were used as a test subject, you don't think that person's gonna go tell God?
I can't see them. Plus, why would he intervene when there's other gods also like messing around with stuff? I feel like he would have his hands occupied with other beings that are trying to mess around with everything, you know? I feel like this would be the least of his worries at the moment, considering there's entities here that are like reality warpers that are trying to kill us. I feel like that's the least of his concerns about a guy dying.
Okay, you got a valid point there. You do have a valid point.
Do I either see what this guy wants or fight this god trying to destroy the earth and decide, you know?
But at the same time, man, this is just like when he says God's blind spot, but someone dies right next to it or dies in the inferno. Like, you don't think God's gonna literally like he's not gonna tell God, but like, hey, I was used as a sacrifice and a test subject.
Well, but remember, they sacrifice thousands, maybe millions, maybe hundreds of thousands of people a day, constantly.
Oh yeah, then that dude's probably burning in hell now.
Remember, they're all probably D class. They're all probably D class, so they committed bad crimes
Yeah, true.
that have
true.
death sentences. So they're not exactly the great people either. It doesn't justify the action by any means, but they're there for a reason. But they're there for a reason. Anyways, let's continue.
Normalcy.
Of normalcy. This is exactly what it says. SCP-001 is simply a definition of what normal is, and therefore what every anomaly isn't. It then goes into one of the O5 members talking about the importance of normalcy, and why, despite the damage that an SCP may or may not cause, why it's so important to protect the world from things that the world can't explain. Next is Bill's proposal of the world at large.
That does not make sense.
That's a lie. No, the Yappersville right there.
That was a nothing burger right there.
A nothing burger, yeah.
One starts off with a group receiving a very odd transmission of way out in space there seems to be some anomaly showing signs of life. We eventually find out that we are reading this from the perspective of a separate entity, supposedly some energy being that doesn't exist the same way that we think existence to occur, and this anomaly that they're referring to is Earth. Since it is so weird that a planet can support a carbon-based life form, the anomaly or the original anomaly is our existence itself. Next is Tanhony's proposal.
Oh, I like that one.
That one's pretty much like, hey, we made space contact.
No.
Aliens.
Yeah, but it's basically implying that it's not the world or it's not everything else that's weird. It's us that's weird.
We're the anomaly.
As in, like, a planet that's sustaining life like this is not supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be here. We're the weird ones. Like, humans should not exist.
We're the special kids.
Like, we should not exist. We should, the species like us existing like that should not be happening. Like, it's not, it
I
turns,
mean, to be fair, if you look at the stuff that we do in the daily life, sometimes we question ourselves.
yeah, but I mean, it's being more of a general thing. Is like this type of like
Yeah.
world should not exist in general. And which I'm like, oh, ooh, okay, I can see that one. That one's kind of cool. I like it.
I can definitely see lore building on that side of it, where like you find out, oh, hey, you're not supposed to be here. So what brought you here?
Or
How did you come about?
it's not whether we brought us here. Is it more like, or the fact that we exist is just it's wrong. Like we're not supposed to be a thing.
You were an accident.
Well, we don't know what we're here, but we just shouldn't exist as we are.
No.
Anyways, dead men.
Dead men.
Dead
This one's
men,
a really good.
many men ain't gain nothing for me. Sorry, so I had a song.
See now you're singing.
Okay, all right, shush. Shush.
The actual O1 itself is an old man who was discovered during an occult ritual whose body had been permanently fused with death itself. The O5 committee used this to their advantage, to which they took this old man to the facility and used amnestics to remove all memory of the O5's faces. What this means is that because death does not recognize the O5 can never die. This story also gets into something rarely mentioned in the SCP lore, and that is the Ethics Committee. Now, the Ethics Committee is pretty much a joke. A group of people who make sure that the organization that runs people through a meat grinder for fun stays ethical. However, according to this, the administrator created the Ethics Committee in order to keep an eye on the O5 Council. The Ethics Committee views this action of making themselves immortal as too immoral, and therefore a plan is hatched in which the Ethics Committee group of soldiers known as Law's Left Hand goes against the O5's red right hand, to which eventually the Ethics Committee leader makes death itself look at all of the O5 members' faces. The Ethics Committee man shoots himself while death is watching, therefore assuring he dies and the O5 can't bring him back to torture him. Then the story ends with our new member of the O5 Council, Dr. Gears, figuring out that shortly after this happened, all of the O5 died of natural causes. Next is Lily's proposal for The World's Gone Beautiful.
So, I mean, that was more of a story, but death fused itself with a man. They then gave the man some tier 3 amnesia. They gave him amnesia. They said, you know what? You have Alzheimer's. You can't remember shit, so don't remember us so we don't die. Ethics Committee, which is, the thing, it's kind of ironic. It's like, we're here to make sure you don't step over the lines, but it's fine if you sacrifice 50,000 people a day because you're saving Earth.
They're like, oh, we're the moral ones. Excuse you. May I remind you that you are the guys that literally send people to the meat grinder for sacrifice. There is no moral ethics in your department, Chief. You're fired.
Which is kind of memey, but like it's funny because it does exist. It does exist, but it's just congratulations. You're here. What's your job? Nothing. All right.
Well, actually, no. This is what doesn't make sense to me. Old man fuses with death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, this is death itself.
Yes.
So, how on Earth were they able to wipe this old man's memory when he is fused with death itself, an anonymous being that is way powerful above humans?
Well, again, we're not regular anymore at this point because we're using all these SCPs and stuff and abusing them, and like we're taking their powers and stuff, or like let's say they secrete this drug that makes you forget something. We collect that drug and we use it to this other thing. We also have, like, as far as I'm aware, we have people under our control that also are SCPs, like reality warpers and stuff like that. So we're not exactly defenseless either.
Okay, fair enough.
Remember, if we will go with the lore of the factory, we could make SCPs as well and stuff that break reality and stuff like that. Or the other universe where we learn to, absorb time as a power source.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not normal. It's not today's standards. We're very more advanced, but these things are still a problem.
So, when he was talking about taking revenge on the 005 team,
The old 5 console.
yeah, one of the dudes literally looked death in the face and shot himself just so that the O5 wouldn't be able to freaking torture him.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, Death saw me die, and it's gonna like, basically he's like, yeah, he died. If Death gave you the stamp of approval, yeah, you're dead. So now you're dead. So now if you're actually truly dead, because Death itself was there and everything, then you can't be brought back to life because I guess in this world that's how that works. Because I don't know.
Okay.
We're kind of just assuming
Okay.
this is all low. This is all theorizing here. We're all theorizing here.
That's why we're theorists.
Okay, now don't say that. All right, we'll continue.
Beautiful. This one's very simple. 24 hours before the world is destroyed by whatever supernatural entity occurs, there is going to be these flowers and birds and natural beauty that blooms all over the world at once. This blooming is SCP-001, and it is in no way related to the causation of whatever destroys the world. It's simply a warning and a time of peace that can occur before the world ends. Procedures if O1 happens in this scenario is to simply let out every entity that won't hurt people, let everyone leave, and spend their last day however they wish. Next is Tufto's proposal of the Scarlet King.
So that's pretty much the SCP showing mercy to everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. Now this is one I've heard about a lot. The Scarlet King.
Is this what he was talking about before? When he was talking about Scarlet King?
He's brought it up a couple times in some things in other videos. I've seen mentions of this guy as well. This guy's like a big entity. He's like been seen around on many.
Was the Scarlet King like the devil or something?
Not that I'm aware of. He's I don't know actually. Let's just watch this. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Scarlet King, like the Ouroboros cycle, is a really long one that I'm not going to get into now. The shorter version is that the Scarlet King is an entity that is seen and mentioned throughout the entire SCP canon.
Yeah.
According to this, the Foundation eventually discovers what the deal with him is. Anytime that a group on Earth has ever tried to assert their dominance or to create these overarching groups such as empires or governments or what have you, the Scarlet King gets more powerful through the tyranny of man. Because of this, the Foundation itself, trying to assert dominance even if it is unknown to the public across the entire world, is making the Scarlet King more powerful. Therefore, this SCP-01 is a antithesis of the Foundation itself, because every time they discover more about the world and contain it, they are building up to the inevitable apocalypse that they themselves are creating. In the last video I talked about 231 and Operation Montauk and a bunch of more stuff describing the Scarlet King that I won't get into here, but if you're interested, check that out, and I may
Probably
make a full
will.
video about him in the future. Next is Jim North's proposal
That
of a
is so
simple
weird.
toy maker. This is
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to stop it, but in the sense of you stopping it, you're also allowing it to happen and continuing it to get worse.
As far as I'm aware of anything I have, because I have seen something on it, but just I don't really remember what about. Because the lore is a little weird on it. Because I also heard of story that it was around a long time ago, and at the shattering of some tree of life or something, or tree of creation, something about that.
Mm.
And then it was like, I think, was it cast out? I don't remember. I don't know. And it's trying to get back in. That's all I know.
Okay. It just surprises me.
Yeah, well, look at this. A simple toy maker. What's this one? I don't think the
Bro,
Scarlet
make me a
King.
ducky.
I don't think Scarlet King so far. The only ones I like so far are honestly still the factory. Still the factory.
Yeah, no, same. Still
is
the
in reference
factory.
to
I
Dr.
do find the
Entertainment,
Scarlet
which
King interesting though. Like, it
Yeah,
is interesting, but it more or less just sounds like a villain rather than a story.
that
It sounds
or the box with the 27% or the 23% about the universe hopper guy trying to stop the universe from dying. That one feels
Yeah.
a little more like, okay, this is the first. It makes sense why it's the first because it's the guy jumping in. It's like, all right, first issue. This. We're all dying as we speak. Time to get to work. It makes sense.
Yeah, no, that one makes a lot more sense. Where the Scarlet King just sounds like a villain. It doesn't sound like a story. It just sounds like a villain that's in the CPU universe, or the CP universe.
SCP.
SCP.
CPU. That's crazy.
Dyslexia is a bitch.
If you're familiar with SCPs, you'll know several items and even people seem to be products of Dr. Wondertainment himself, or herself. The story changes every time you read it. Upon reading this file, you discover that Dr. Wondertainment wrote this himself by hyping up the details and making himself to be mysterious in some ways and kind of silly in others. It's another layer to the fact that no one really understands what Dr. Wondertainment's motives are and why he keeps making these anomalous SCPs. Next is I.H. Pickman's proposal, Story of Your Life.
So just a man, an entity man that creates shit for fun. So Willy Wonka on steroids.
Yeah, that's the vibe I was getting just from looking at the picture. Like, oh, that's like British Willy Wonka.
But like he's making the devil, but also chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess not my SCP-001, but an SCP of all
This is probably the
time.
most cleverly written one in the entire thing. SCP-001 is an acknowledgement to the fact that this universe exists within a given story. Therefore, something they constantly have to be afraid of is story tropes making their way out. To contain these tropes, they essentially have to be thrown all into a story at once, or something known as narrative lampshading, which is whenever in a story they directly point out the ridiculousness of something that's happened, and supposedly that makes it okay. Therefore, this 001 entry is simply a fake story that was made up in order to contain all of the bad writing tropes that may exist somewhere else in the SCP lore. Next, we have the Great Hippo featuring Pepper's ghost.
I'm sorry, I'm not a writer. That didn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I was trying my best to like pay attention to that, but like
Look at my
sorry,
face
I
right now.
couldn't.
This is what I feel. I do not know. I do not know.
Okay. Yeah, no, but I'm sorry. That was like very confusing. I tried my best to pay attention to that, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I'm not a writer myself either.
The only thing that I paid attention to was the title itself, and it was the story of my life.
Okay, all right, cut the show. Cut the bit. Nice. Man's sneaking every time he can. I mean, so am I, but still. All right, let's move on.
Hey, Molly, look,
Yeah.
look. It's what one of the bunny VTuber girls you want to say to you.
No. Why would I say that? Why would I say that? Why would he say that? What makes you think that's true?
Because I know you very well.
What would make you say that?
Oh, what would make me say that?
What would make you say that? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Enough of it around. Enough about you exposing me and my down badness. I want to hear it.
Proposal, a good boy. This SCP-001 is a computer that the Foundation
Shush.
themselves
Let's watch
created.
the video.
The purpose of this computer was to use a sort of predictive text pattern to analyze all of the information brought in about previous SCPs in order to determine where new ones would come up. Then they decided to use it to determine how to best contain and neutralize these beings. However, the computer kind of got carried away with the neutralized part. See, it didn't really understand like ethics or morality in any regard, so all it kept suggesting was the most brutal ways to torture and kill people because it might do something. It referred to everyone in the Foundation who helped the Foundation as good boys, and then it started suggesting that they kill everyone that wasn't a good boy, i.e. if a doctor had a moral problem with what the computer suggested, they should kill them. This leads to the entire O5 Council telling the computer that they are good boys and should be left alone. Some of the things the computer suggested was everyone cover yourselves in green foam and stand in T posing around 106, and that will disable it. Another is that they take every Coke product off of shelves and put the blood of virgins into each can. When asked why, the computer didn't know. And then it kept suggesting that they need to capture cats and then place their organs around the facility, which once again, when asked why, The computer didn't know. What's funny is they still leave this thing on, they just don't take advice from it. So somewhere in one of the sites is a computer that just keeps printing off the words kill, kill, kill. Next is the combined writing project of Wise.
Okay, just the computer, that psychopath.
The yandere computer?
I was thinking about that. Yeah, but if it calls me a good boy, though, I don't know. It's kidding. All right, let's move on.
Index, a note known as Project Palisade. This is a long story, but the short rundown of it is that there is a being out there in the universe that supposedly the Foundation created, known as the Worm. The Worm gets its power essentially by slowly feeding off of universes. To combat this, and to combat our universe from being destroyed, the Foundation built several parallel universes in order to try to stay out of the Worm's range. This says that therefore every single parallel universe we hear about in the SCP world is a direct creation of the Foundation themselves. If you remember in the SCP Iceberg video I did, I talked about the White Queen and how that's a tail on the Black Queen. Well, the Black Queen is one of the main characters in this story that is used in order to create these branching narratives. However, at the end it's mentioned that if this thing does like consume realities and get powerful, maybe making more realities was a bad idea. Next we have Captain Kirby's proposal of 0513.
So there was a worm.
Yep.
It ate a universe. And we said, oh no, we need to live. Let's keep feeding it more that we're gonna make so that we can live.
I'm sorry, that's the one thing I can probably I can say full-heartedly that I disagree with that universe entirely. Because it tries to point them out to be the good guys, but in reality they're also bad guys.
I don't think there is any good guys here, realistically speaking. They're just different species trying to survive, including us.
You know what I do find interesting? I'm surprised no one has yet to make a freaking universe where there's a resistance against this sort of thing.
No, there's a lot of resistances.
Are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just
it's been a while, so
they exist out there. They exist out there. You know, they're just not as strong as it, or they're all doing their own things, trying to stop them in their own ways.
Yeah, because like you see these things and be like, where are you guys picking these SCPs? Like, where are they? Because like if we haven't seen them, right? And
well, no. We do see them. Like, there's facilities all over the place, all over the world, right? They're like big site facilities that have a bunch of like didn't you play the game? Which one? Didn't you have like you're in a facility with like a bunch of corridors and a bunch of like, yeah, that's it. There's a bunch of those scattered around the world, different sizes, different ways, but that's the general thing. We have big facilities containing them in like cells, basically.
So it's pretty much a doom clock then.
In a way, yeah. Now you're getting into it. That's SCP. Congratulations, you're caught up.
Doom clock.
We're just delaying the inevitable, pretty much.
Okay.
This is in reference to 0513, 13th member of the 05 Council. This entire story is framed around the fact that the first 12 members of the 05 Council died, everyone except for 13, and it follows the new 1 through 12 trying to figure out if 13 may be responsible. This is because something referred to as a Caesar event happened, and no one knows what happened to the original 05 Council. It's then revealed at the end of the story that the administrator is talking directly to 13 and telling him to keep his head cool, as he doesn't want to reveal what actually happened. We then find out what actually happened, which is the original founder became upset with how the other 11 members were running their jobs, everyone except for 13. So he sends 13 away as he brings in the members 1 through 12 and detonates a nuclear warhead, destroying the 05 Council. Next we have Pedantic's proposal of...
I feel like you should have shot them. What do you gotta do a whole nuke for? It's kind of obsessive. A little overkill, you know?
I mean, okay, to be fair, fair, it is quick, fast, in a hurry. You ain't feeling no pain.
I don't think you would feel pain in a bullet through a head for a few seconds.
I mean, you'd see it coming. A nuke, you'd look at that thing and be like, all right, I accept my fate.
It could have been a bomb, or at least not a fucking nuke. That's just
I
broken.
guess
Who gave him a nuke? Why does he actually have one? Where he buy it? eBay?
Don't you know you can easily get uranium on eBay?
Okay, all right. Uranium on eBay. I mean, I have heard that's a lot of calories. I might need to bulk up on it, low key. It's
Yeah, dude. Like, don't you know? Like, the U.S. has tons of nukes. How do you think we get them? eBay.
eBay.
Oh, but like, I do feel like it's unnecessary for you to use an entire nuke on something.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Oh, that's a fucking nuke. That's excessive in every category.
That has to be like super angry. Like, what did they do to deserve
Bro,
a
Matt,
nuke?
he said he was unhappy with them. He said he was unhappy with how they're running things, but I didn't think he was that mad. Matt has beef. He hated them. He really hated them.
Someone must have slept with his sister. There's no way you can hold a grudge that strong.
It's not
unless
that
you do
serious,
something
bro.
like that.
It's not that serious for a nuke. Okay. Well, we need to get to this.
Fishhook. Fishhook is written as a first-person mimetic purgatory. What does that mean? Well, as you click on the story, it turns into a sort of ARG where you are experiencing first person that you are a researcher who tried to figure out what O1 was. You're then thrown into a locked room where you're supposedly in there for years as they come to you every day and ask why you wanted to look at O1. You then wake up back at your desk, none of it happened, and it turns out that whenever you go to search O1, you are placed into this endless cycle until you've learned your lesson and decide to not look into O1. If nothing else, then this would serve as a ghost story in order to dissuade other people from trying to figure out what the real O1 is. Next is Not a Seagull's proposal of the sky.
Groundhog Day is what I'm hearing.
In a way, I think that one's more interesting than most of the ones we heard besides the factory and the thing, where it's just like they don't want you knowing what this thing is. So it's actually like
Endless cycle.
It's cycle. If you try and look into it, you get placed in this dream where you're asked and questioned why you're looking into this until eventually you don't.
Yeah, it's to the point where you're so fed up with it that you pretty much stop, and because you stop, that was the one action that allowed you to exit that cycle.
Yeah,
which again, which sounds like Groundhog Day to me, and I'm gonna be honest, that just sounds kind of boring for a story.
I mean, I guess, but for a contingency, so that people don't find out.
Yeah, no, for a contingency plan, that's valid, but for a story,
Well, I feel like, remember, I mean, yeah, but I'm like, okay, I still could see that being, because remember, we technically, there still exists something in that story that would be 001, but what it is right now in that story, it would be, it's a thing blocking other people from really finding out what it is, which is interesting in thought process, but yeah, it doesn't really give you anything to work off of. You're right. We'll just continue. You're right.
Right above the port. 5 kilometers south of Babylon, there is a cave, and inside it are 2 entities. One of them is a giant floating ball that resembles TV static, and the other is a sort of shadow that sits by the wall and looks at the ball. These 2 entities are supposedly old gods that may be responsible for the creation of the world. And
yeah.
You gave it a name? Man saw TV static and said Kevin. I'm just...
The only thing that satiates them from destroying the world is to be entertained. Throughout history, groups such as the Order of the Black and White and Zoroastrian monks have made it their goal to continuously entertain this creature. So now it's the Foundation's turn. They originally decided to try to read it fake stories, but it gets upset as the thing only likes true thought out stories. It's then said that the Foundation began making up SCP entries in order to let it read them, and this satisfied it for a while. Eventually they figure out what to do. They let this creature read its own O1 file that forever loops on itself. And sure enough, as you're there reading it on the website, there is always an attachment file that you can open that simply reopens the top and the file goes on forever. So supposedly this worked in satiating this creature. However, the thing I mentioned about fake entries being made up implies that several of the SCP creatures that we know of may just be fakes in order to satisfy this old world god. Next, we have Meta Ike's proposal of the solution.
Oh,
So basically, this overall god is a fucking bookworm. Alright. Man likes literature. Yes, I do like this story. I'll give it a A+. Your world lives for another three days if you don't give me another story.
so is it the static? Is it the being that's made out of static that's the old god, or the
I think it's the
quote-unquote
thing in a
being,
corner.
or is it the shadow? Because if it's the shadow, then you dude's just looking at an endless static for the rest of eternity. It's like looking at someone else's soul, being like, ah, yes, hello, my friend, hello. Let me just look into your soul. Why? Because it's entertaining.
I mean, if it works and it keeps us alive, why not? Why not? Why not? You know?
I mean, he wasn't alone because like the static thing is a being. So like they either had conversations with one another or the static dude was literally providing entertainment for the shadow man.
Yeah? Yeah? I don't know. I'm still a little confused, but we're just gonna... Listen, man, the footage is at 1 hour and 30 minutes, bro. Trying to get through this.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
It's supposed to be a 40-minute video. We're already 1 hour and 36 minutes in recording. This is excessive. Editing this is gonna be a pain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anyways. Yeah, definitely I don't understand it, but somewhat interesting. Could be better. I feel like, again, good story, not a 001.
The solution was a device that was created in order to reset reality if ever needed. This was created by the Foundation, reason for it being with so many world-ending creatures that you have, if any of them were about to totally wipe out humanity, it would be better to reset timeline to before it happened and you could fill in the blanks. However, this device began to show signs of sentience and that really scared the Foundation, so they tried to reboot it, and whenever they did, the device went ahead and started remaking reality itself. However, because no one entered in the rest of the information before it reset reality, there were several missing gaps, and that is the reality we currently exist in. The reason we don't know where humanity came from or why so many anomalies exist is because of these missing gaps that this computer left in. Next, we have Norbox's proposal of the 10.
I like that one. I do like that one. That's like, feels like what Good Boy could have been.
Yeah.
A computer that they sentence.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would say that one definitely has a lot more not usefulness, but story to go off of and like sensibility.
Yeah, you could write a whole story about it. It's an entity that's constantly resetting us, trying to stop us from stopping it, and it's stopping us is by resetting reality, and it's trying to like not rewrite, but leave out information about stuff. So we're like, it's way better. It's way better than the Good Boy one. Good Boy's just
like
Yandere Simulator.
Yeah.
Dalos Trinity. The story opens where we get 3 slightly different explanations of what seems to be the same events. It describes SCP-01 as a sort of ghost shadow figure that moves through walls at any given rate. What we're actually seeing is the point of view of 3 different timelines, with each one watching their reality slowly bend towards another. And these humanoid creatures they're seeing are just people in the other timeline slowly passing into theirs. Turns out this had happened some time ago, and there were 3 timeline divergences at the point the SCP Foundation was made. However, the leaders of these 3 timelines agree that it would be best to put their resources together as their realities are crashing into each other and create one true reality. That reality would be the universe we exist in, and the reason it is SCP-1 is because it explains where we came from. Next, we have Tan Honey's second proposal. And that is of
that one.
That one actually makes sense.
Yeah. I'd be happy with that one, but yeah, no. That's gonna be a second favorite. Second favorite.
Good.
Second favorite.
Yeah.
Second favorite. That was my second favorite now. Second favorite.
Yeah.
of the Black Moon. This describes a sort of cycle that occurs. Supposedly there's this creature known as the Black Moon who has existed for as long as time itself has existed. At any time at once, it can turn
like
any
an eye.
number of people into a sort of black solid material that then disintegrates and disappears. This power seemingly knows no bounds, and anytime this thing wants, all of humanity can be wiped out with one move. The only thing that can supposedly fight the Black Moon is its counterbalance, as it's known, also to us known as the Administrator. According to this, the Administrator existed before names existed, meaning there was so few people on Earth that they didn't even think to call each other anything. When he was a young boy, a man came up to him and told him that it was his responsibility to fight the Black Moon, and he gave him the powers of immortality. The Administrator has spent his entire existence trying to figure out a way to destroy the Black Moon and started the SCP Foundation some thousands of years ago as a means of doing so. There's a line said in this story that I think is kind of indicative of the role that the Administrator and the Black Moon take throughout this story, in which the Administrator is asking the person interviewing him if he's ever heard of Moby Dick, to which the interviewer says that he has, and it's a story of how Ahab's hunt for the whale was doomed from the start, to which the Administrator replied, "Oh, I just assumed Ahab didn't try hard enough." At the end of the story, we see that the Black Moon wins, wipes out humanity, to which the Administrator and the Black Moon get into a fight with each other. The Administrator barely prevails and uses the last of his powers that he stole from the Black Moon in order to create a new world with his final words, "Let there be light." Implication being that a new universe was created with a new Black Moon, and eventually the Administrator himself will become the old man who tells a young boy in primordial times that it is his job to fight the Black Moon, and the cycle will repeat on itself. Also, reading all of these proposals, the phrase "does the Black Moon howl" kept popping up. I did a bunch to try to figure out how this relates to stuff. That question's even asked in the story a few times, to which there's answers. So I would go back to the other 01 proposals that mention the Black Moon and enter in those answers, and I couldn't get any secrets or something to pull out. I feel like the Black Moon is a more overarching thing in at least the 01 proposals than a lot of people currently know. So I'm going to look into it more, and if I find anything, I'll make a video on it. Next, we have Rajit's second.
So, the final shape. I don't know what I thought. Since we get turned into stones, of black stones, I'm like, just thought about the final shape. I don't know why. I was like, hey. Anyways, besides that, entity ending all universe. Old man tells new man, little boy, gives him powers of immortality and says, "Fix this problem." Guy fixes problem, but everything gets reset. And he turns into old man. Old man tells little man, "Fix the problem." Little man tries to fix the problem, but loses. It makes a universe hollow man. Old man, little man turns to big man, and the cycle repeats.
Pretty much. Like, that old man is the young boy.
I feel like
If you listen closely, like the way he says it, it's literally the young boy that goes back to the young boy. He's pretty much telling himself, "Hey, it's your responsibility."
I feel like she'd tell him this is a time loop or something. If he's done this many times.
It's a looping paradox. Where
because I feel like
really...
I feel like he would remember this person coming up to him, and then he would know, like, oh, this is the one I'm walking up to myself. I should probably tell him this is a loop.
I mean, at that point, are you really gonna matter that it's a loop, or are you gonna matter of what gets done?
Well, it would matter to the fact that, okay, that means that I win. It just, but I have to change something that if I this time I win, but I don't have to do this. I feel like your goals would change.
Yeah, but what if you can't get rid of it except from doing that?
Well, remember, he killed the Black Moon. It's just that in this new universe there is a new one, so that means it could be killed in some way, right? So that's a thing. The only thing I'm worried, the only thing is like, okay, well, you tried it, and it loops and loops and loops, and you're not doing anything new because you get the same message. If you change the message a bit, maybe the results would change a bit, a little bit of a ripple effect.
Okay. Yeah. My question is like he's still he's an immortal being still. So why give the responsibility to the kid? Are you just wanting to retire at that point,
I feel like he
or
probably was
have you
dying.
lost your powers?
Like, remember he said like he took all the remaining power and used all his remaining power to reset the universe and say that there be light, in which he then found a young child and gave him eternal life.
Hmm.
The power he used to restart the universe and everything was not his; it was the Black Moon's that he stole.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So he doesn't technically have the power to reset the universe himself. He stole that, so he can't really do that or stay around because who knows what happened to him after, right? And he used the last of it,
Hmm.
but he could only give himself one gift, which was immortality. But I just, you can see, you can work off of this. I can see a lot of stories being made from this. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see this. This is
The thing
third
that caught
favorite.
my eye.
Mm.
The thing that caught my eye is the fact that when he was talking about Moby Dick, be like, "Hey, have you heard the story of Moby Dick?" And obviously, the person interviewing is like, "Oh yeah, it's a nice story." Um, but the dude himself, who's the immortal, is just like, "Oh, I just thought he was in a really bad mood," and it's just like it makes you think he was probably there during the time when Moby Dick was being like played out.
Yeah, but I've not. Well, me, all he said was like, "Yeah, what do you think about the story?" And then the other guy interviewing said, "Oh, I thought it was like the whole point of the story is that it was a doomed thing, right? It was doomed from the start." And he's like, "No, I just don't think he tried hard enough." Which kind of shows his mentality. He was like, I just gotta try harder in order to beat this thing. Which, he kind of failed in the end, didn't he? All of us
I
got killed,
mean,
and then he reset. Yeah, because all of us got destroyed, and
yeah,
then he fought this being. The being, he stole its powers, and then reset everything in order to start the cycle again. So technically, he lost, and which he's trying again.
true. Okay, yeah, you got me there on that one.
I'd say it's about the third favorite. I still like the some other ones better.
I think if I had to give the third one, I'd probably say the moon one,
Which one?
the red moon or the evil moon.
Evil Moon.
Yeah, the
Which
one that turns people into a blob
Oh,
if
you mean the
sunlight hits it.
sun? The sun.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
the evil sun. Why you say evil
the
moon?
evil sun, the evil
That
sun. Sorry.
evil moon. I was like, this is what? Are you talking about the black moon he's reacting to? No, okay. Third was B. Okay. For me, factory box with key, not the one that contains the universe, but the one that shows the progress already being destroyed. Then I'd say
Mhm.
black moon, when day breaks, which is the sun. And then I'd say, actually, we'll keep it there. Top three.
Okay. Oh wait, you're asking me?
I mean, I was, but then I saw you didn't say
Oh.
anything, so I was gonna press play.
um. Uh. What was it? What was it? The factory being one. Uh, the one that was before the Black Moon, I think. The second.
Okay, Black
I know the
Moon.
second one we agreed. I
The
know the
Trinity
second
about the
one.
three timelines.
Yeah. That's a solid second.
Solid second.
And
Okay.
yeah, solid second. And the third being the evil sun, Daybreak.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm fine with that. That's pretty good. I think these are pretty good picks.
Because like the reason I say Daybreak is the third is because it's more of an alternate story or just a different story in general rather than it being linked in any sort to the SCP.
Yeah.
Where
is the
the second
conspiracy.
one makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, about all the three realities, coming together. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I could see that. I could see the line of thought.
In this, SCP-01 is the bullet that killed JFK, which, something I'm totally impartial to and have no real opinions about. However, according to this, the reason that moment is so important is because it was the last real conclusive event that ever happened on Earth. Supposedly, two different sort of parallel timelines or realities co-interacted with each other at the same moment, and that's the reason that the true JFK shooting can never be found out, because it is simultaneously one thing as it is another. From this is where timelines branch off and the Mandela effect starts. It's where we see the rise of several 20th century mental health conditions, and it implies that because this shooting was so conspired and against itself, it created branching narratives for the world as a whole. So yeah, next we have Arbalek's proposal of you.
Huh? Huh? It's my big huh?
Like, no, I can't. I don't even know why that's in. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I mean, I get the thing about it being the last conclusive event kind of thought process, but like, it's still. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Of worlds. Similar to World at Large, this story seems to be taking place from the perspective of another entity viewing humanity. According to this, the way that humans exist is different from every other thing that exists in the universe. Because we exist as such tangible, physical beings, every time that we make a decision, we create a separate branching universe. Those that have watched my other videos will know that that is string theory. Or, if you already knew what string theory is, I mean, I'm not like the governing body on string theory. It's not, I didn't come up with it. Because of the rate in which we create new universes from this, we are going to inevitably cause a collapse in which the universe can't sustain the number of paradoxes we're creating, and we are going to destroy all life everywhere at once because we're so bad at existing. Next is McDoctorate's.
Okay, that one I find cool. Is that fact that since we're basically in not on purpose, but we're creating alternate realities by what they actually do, infinite realities, infinite decisions, right? But we're the only things doing that because of how we exist, right? Not because we're sorry, go ahead.
The thing that I don't really agree with in the sense of this one and the other one before is when it brings up the multi-universe or dimension theory, where it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, let's say I fail something in this universe, right?
Yeah.
But in the other universe, I complete something. No matter what I do, I am bound to fail in this universe because this universe in itself is the alternate universe of where the opposite happens. You're doomed to fail in that subject if this universe is meant for you to fail. It's always going to be the opposite. And if it's not, it then branches off into another universe where it just creates another one where it's just like, okay, now this one is where you would fail. But then this is the one where you have a possibility of changing the tides, and then this is the one where you succeed.
Yeah, what does that have to do with the thing, though? You're proving its point in a way.
I'm just saying, if the thing is doomed to fail in that universe, and there's one to succeed, then that universe in itself is always going to fail.
Yes, but what does that have to do with the fact that we're inevitably making that like those things happen, so that's why we're a problem?
I was agreeing with it. I was saying
you said this is the problem, and I was like, okay, so you're making a counter argument. I thought you were making like a counter argument to it, not agreeing to it. I was trying to make it okay. So you're basically just telling me exactly why we're the problem, and we're exactly in this. Like, if this thing has a case, and we're making this many of these other realities and universes where these things happen that we did or didn't do, we're eventually gonna reach the lid and break it because we're the only ones that could do that, apparently. And I'm like, okay, so you're proving its point. I was waiting for like buts.
I mean, there is a but it's the fact that it's just a never-ending time loop, and you never reach to a conclusion.
I think that's even proving more. Like the fact that we technically Henry reaches more just shows how much more it's growing and changing and adding up and adding up and adding up until eventually it's gonna reach a limit in this in this story. How they proposed it is like eventually you guys are gonna reach a limit and everything's gonna collapse.
But there will not be a limit.
Remember in this proposal, basically this being is telling us that we're the only beings that are doing this how we exist. And the fact that we're doing this is breaking stuff, and eventually it's gonna reach a breaking point where everything's just gonna destroy itself.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going off a realist. I'm no string theorist, all right? We don't even know if that's real to begin with. These are just ideas and concepts at the end of the day.
I just found it interesting, and just I have my own issues with the whole dimensional theory spectrum.
Listen, bro. At the end of the day, this is fiction. This is fiction. Yes.
Proposal of the placeholder. The placeholder starts by saying that 001.
Man's got beef with the book. It's crazy.
Bro, put me in the ring.
Exactly that, a placeholder, a spot that has no entry for it, and if you have any further information, contact the doctor linked here. Then whenever you contact the doctor linked here, you're taken to a file saying that this doctor doesn't actually exist and something weird's going on here with the 001. To spare some time, you eventually figure out that there are two entities before creation known as the Archvile and the Primordial. One creates universes and stories, and the other destroys them. At the end of the story, the two agree to rewrite reality and come together starting at the beginning. The beginning being SCP-001, however they can't come to a consensus and decide to simply reset things to the way that they were. However, when you get to the end and it simply takes you back to the beginning, you realize that you are reading through the circular story of these two old world gods resetting the universe only to decide that it's not good enough and then resetting again, and so on and so forth forever. And then finally we have Rounderhouse's proposal of Memento.
So just two gods resetting the universe because they're not happy with their work. Sounds like a them problem. Yo, gods, I need an update on life, please. You know, I need some stat boosts, maybe. You know, that'd be great. You know, I need a reroll on my intelligence check, probably. Can you make me 2 feet taller in the next reset? Like, please? You know, I'm just saying, if you're resetting over and over again, can I get a better roll next time?
And bro's like, hey, can I just be better looking? And it's just like, God looks at you and be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, what do you mean? I could ask. I could ask. I could ask. I could ask. Listen, I could ask.
It just sounds like it just sounds like a stalemate in chess.
What's that?
That's literally what it is.
I mean,
it's a stalemate
in
chess.
They're trying to make something work and it just doesn't work, and then they're just trying to make something work and they reset it because it didn't work, and then they try to make something work but it didn't work, so they reset it. And they try to make something work and it didn't work, so they reset it. I mean, pretty much.
Exactly, a stalemate.
Mention that Memento Mori
well,
is a harbinger or sign of coming death. According to this, SCP-01 is the administrator's mansion located in Virginia.
The table overboard?
Supposedly, this is the site that the O5 Council resides in. Every single room of this mansion is in itself anomalous and describes something about that member of the O5 Council. You can even read into it and read the entries for what each room is and try to deduce from that what the O5 member might be. However, we're following from the perspective of the 13th member, to which he then goes out to the back of the house and sees a graveyard. There, in the graves, are the bodies of all 12 O5 members with their specific names and descriptions. It's said there that the descriptions change depending on how the reader feels about the person buried there. We then find out at the very end of this story that this 13th member we're reading from the perspective of is Dr. Gears, with the final part of the story being the administrator inviting Dr. Gears to death, as Dr. Gears is reading the tombstones of the other 12 members, and when he gets to his own tombstone, it simply says Memento Mori. The implication being that this SCP-01 could be viewed as the end of the Foundation, or at least the O5 Council itself, and we see one of its members, one of its first members, Dr. Gears, being reminded and then confronting his own death. And that is it for the O1 proposals. Now, this is an ongoing thing.
Meh. The last one's meh. I didn't like it.
I mean, okay, I could, okay, listen, hear me out.
All right, I'm hearing you out.
I could see this being the end part of the SCP universe. Like the very end, like if there was a conclusion, right? I could see this being a conclusion.
Sure.
Like for all we know, right? This could be the end point of when everything's finally over. Everyone in the original 005 group, right? They're all dead. Technically, and the last dude is just like he's willing to accept his death, which is weird.
So as a 001 proposition, it's not that great.
Yeah, but for an ending proposition, I would say it is great.
But this is not an ending. This is a 001 proposition. It is not that great. I didn't like it. I didn't like it as a 001. As a story, maybe, but as a 001, no. I think Factory is the best for 001. Second best would be that key. The resetting the universe. Third 001 best story would probably be the Black Moon. Fourth would be the one you said with the 3 universes. In my opinion, those would be the ones that I like the most.
I would probably have to stick with the order that I did before, and the fourth being the last one.
Okay, all right, I can respect that. All right, anyways, let's go.
And more keep being added. So if more are added in the future, enough to make another video on, then I certainly will and cover all the new ones. However, this is my first branch into SCP content that's not also iceberg content. So very sincerely, I hope you enjoyed and thank you for watching. Like I mentioned before, I'm blown away with how well I'm doing, and it's all thanks to you guys. It really does mean the most. I hope that you enjoyed. I want to say a very big thank you to everyone who watched. Massive thank you to all my subscribers. Giant thank you to all my Patreons, and a very, very huge thank you to my top tier patrons. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Pef. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Publius. Thank you, Saucy. It's so cool.
Okay, just him ranting about his stuff. All right. That has been our reaction to SCP-001 proposals. They were very interesting. There are some I agree with. Some of them are honestly, I don't know, they feel a bit like throwaways compared to everything else. Like, the Daybreak it feels like it had no real place to be here as a 001. It's a good story. I'm definitely gonna look into it, because that sounds like the sun going evil sounds really cool. But as this is the first record of anything and everything, kind of feels like a little odd, a little bit out of place, I would say, if anything. So, I don't know. What about you? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Thoughts, guest?
I mean, honestly, the 4 that we listened to, or the one that I've ranked in the 4, I would say I liked the most. The Scarlet King was definitely a interesting bit, but as I said before, I could only see him being like the villain of the thing itself, not 001 proposition, I guess. It's weird, but there were definitely nothing burgers in some of these, but there were also very solid stories that probably could have been used. But the Factory by far is probably the best one out of all of them. Like, I like the Factory one the most out of all of it.
Yeah, it feels more, I don't know, realistic compared to the other ones. Like, oh, I can see that happening.
Yeah, no, I could 100% seeing the Factory thing happening.
I guess that would work. I would agree with that so far. As of for that, I think this is gonna pretty much wrap it up for us today. It was a pretty good video. Obviously, Wendigoon did a good job in his part. If you have and want to check out the original video, I'll always put it in the description as always. Besides that, that has been my reaction to this. And you know, obviously, thank you for being here today. Pate, thank you very much. Appreciate you stopping by and reacting to something with me. You know, pleasure to have you as always.
As always.
Mhm.
It is always fun to hang around and relax. This was definitely a unique experience because I never really did a reaction thing before. So.
I mean, it's what you think it is, just reacting to stuff.
Yeah.
anyways. I'm gonna have to call it for here for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed this content very much. Besides that, hope you guys have a great day. You know me, always chilling, always down to do these for you guys. I enjoy this very much anyways. Besides that, I hope you guys have a good one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out and me to do more of this stuff. Besides that, bye bye and bye bye.